All right, all right. Well, welcome back, guys, and welcome back to another episode or another lesson of Ana Chaos Art Studio. And today we're going to go ahead and continue to our series. I believe we are on lesson 20. And what we're going to start doing today is start introduction of anatomy. We're going to talk about like the bones, pretty much a little bit like how many bones. We're just pretty much going to hit the fine bullets. That's pretty much what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about different body shapes, different types of bodies, so on and so forth. And then the next lesson, we're going to talk about actually how to tackle it. Now, anatomy is something that is very overwhelming to a lot of people because it's a figure that we see on a daily basis. So people know what humans look like. This is why today, with the large amount of AI slop and filters, a lot of people can look at something and go, that's not real because we know what that looks like. We look at other people, we engage with other people, we watch other people. That is on our day-to-day engagement. Okay. So yes, so it's kind of overwhelming. So what I plan to do for this little short series is I just go ahead and tackle it little by little and ease into it. So hopefully you'll become comfortable. And I hope this will be a good starting point for you. Know that when I create these lessons, this is not 1,000%, foolproof. Okay. I myself, went to art college and then I went to animation school. So I had teachers that were very patient with me and they pretty much injected all this information into me. And, by patience and just make it do figure drawing, figure drawing, figure drawing, figure drawing. And, so what I've been trying to do all these years is go ahead and try to grab that knowledge, all those years of training, and try to break it down to something more digestible and easy. And it's a starting point for someone who is at the beginning stages of their art career. So I always suggest, start with an artist you like if they have a really good anatomy class or something that they can offer you. And then from there, go ahead and look at what other artists are doing. Okay, so just don't take one person like 1,000%. Just check out to see what other people are doing, and whatever kind of clicks in your head a little bit better, then go with that. Okay. Now with that, I went ahead and I looked through my I have a bookshelf full of books. I used to be a college instructor for about 15 years in adult education, mostly involved in art. So I had acquired quite a bit of a collection, and as the years have gone by, I pretty much just kept the top ones that I love to today that I still refer to. So here is one of them. So this is Figure in Action. Now, believe it or not, this series is out of print. However, you should be able to go online, and I'm pretty sure someone out there has a PDF, and you could see, like, you can purchase it or find it. I know I've seen PDFs of this roaming around since, in my adult life. And let me tell you how old this is. It was $6.26 when I purchased this. And what's really great about this is that it pretty much goes through, like, basic anatomy, on here. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys. There is nudity in here because it is figure drawing. So the gentleman, his name is Andrew Loomis, and excuse me, Loomis, Andrew Loomis, I believe is how you mention it. But he has like several of a series of these books. Through I believe it's called Walter Foster is the publishing house that did these, and they have one for animation, they have one for like figure drawing. There's two of them for the figure drawing, and this is one of the ones I was able to get a hold of physically. And a lot of these, if you do find them, you find them at other people's garage sales, estate sales, or maybe in your local library they will still have an active copy of this book in their shelf that you can photocopy for yourself if the book is out of print. Okay, so I will highly suggest looking into this gentleman. And then here's one of more recent resources is by Sarah Simblett and Anatomy for the Artist. And this book, it is amazing, and I refuse to lend it out to people because I know if I lend it out, it will never come back. So if you get a copy of this book, don't let people borrow it. It will not come back. Now, this is one of those books that I tell folks to get the physical copy, and let me show you why. So let me pick something that is not offensive. Okay. So what this book does, it does what is called focus studies. And then the great part is it will feature a body part and then it will overlay on top of that what the bones are doing within that body part. And I've not seen too many books that did this. This book did an excellent job at tackling this, and it does it for every part of the body. It is a focus study book, as I like to call it. And it talks about the anatomy, the locomotions, all kinds of stuff. So it's a fantastic book. If you get a hold of it, it's been out for a while. You should be able to find a decent used copy. And if for whatever reason you don't have the means, if you have your local library, just go ahead and look it up, Anatomy for the Artist. Bring the book and then whatever the UPC number is on the back, and ask your librarian if they can purchase a copy for that library so that way you can check it out and then you can use it. I used to do stuff like that back when I was living in Orlando when I was a teen, pre-internet days, a long time ago, and I would do that all the time. They had an extensive collection, but once in a while they just wouldn't have something. And I will ask them like, hey, is it in the budget to order this book? Because I am inspiring artist and I just don't have the money. And, I would love if you have it here so I can check it out. And it also is not just good enough for you, it's also for other artists within your community to go ahead and also do that. Meow meow. Meow meow, what are you doing? Meow meow, what are you doing? No, no, no. No, no, no. Okay, so my kitty wants to be. That's why you see the toys in the back. So ignore the mess back there. It just keeps her entertained. But anyway, guys, with that, let's go ahead and get started on this lesson. Like I said, today's going to be an introduction to anatomy. We're going to talk about it, how to approach it, what are the different shapes, and then we'll go from there. All right. So for this lesson, you really don't need a lot of stuff for this lesson. It's just mostly going to be me talking about anatomy, bring up a couple basic points in here, so on and so forth. So it's going to be more of the watch and follow along kind of video. Now, right off the bat, you have to remember that the human body has around 640 to 850 muscles. Okay. It has roughly around 900 ligaments. And then the bones, okay, so as babies, we have roughly around 300 bones. And then once we grow, like we grow older and some of our bones fuse together, you have a total of 206 bones. Okay. And I know this may sound weird, but you could go to like just YouTube it, Google it. This is a fact. Babies, when they're born, they tend to have more bones in their body. That's why they say it's a bad idea to drop the baby because you could cause some real damage. I mean, you shouldn't drop anybody, period, but definitely not babies. Their bones are soft, okay? So don't drop the baby. That's bad. Okay, now so just some basic inputs, and like I said, you can go into how do you say, some medical books or just Google some basic stuff, and there'll be folks talking about it. Now, if you ever check out any more of Mr. Andrew Loomis' books, he talks about the different types of humans, okay? And it just depends on what they're doing. So if we have, I'm going to go right here. Now I'm just going to do a really rough representation of this. 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So according to Mr. Loomis, the average person, he would draw around like 7.5 heads tall. If he's doing someone like ideal, is 8 heads tall. If he's doing fashion, is 8.5 heads tall, and if a superhero is 9 heads tall. So let's go ahead and go to right here. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7. So we'll look right here. 7.5. Torso. And don't worry about following along right now. That part is not important at this moment. And if you ever like watch like or read comics or watch superhero movies, you notice that especially in the older series, not a lot of the newer series, you now have normal people that represent some of these superhero characters. It's that anytime they show a normal person will be average height. So this is normal. This is per his his depiction in his books. So 7.5 heads tall. Okay. Now, ideal because socially we add value to people's height for some reason, but whatever. So 8 heads tall. We like to look up. This dude's got a ridiculously long torso. I'm just kind of doing this on the fly, guys. So just you know, just spare me. Heads. Okay, this is ideal. And then you start getting into fashion models. Okay, fashion models mostly it's not even that the characters gotten longer, but for whatever, like if you look at some of the older fashion books, they always tend to draw models with elongated legs, especially in women. That's why till to today you see a lot of very lean women when they're modeling clothes. It's just trying to mimic their art style. Just I guess more visually appealing for the designer. But there's a lot of companies that are kind of battling that right now. 8.5 heads. This is for fashion. All right, and then you have 9 heads tall. And 9 heads tall, you start getting into like someone who's Herculean. They're very like, superhero-ish. They're very strong. They tend to be bigger structurally. So you're talking someone who is massive. And I know this is really rough, but bear with me. And they tend to be heroes, tend to be about 9 heads. Okay. So this is the way that when I started going to school, this is the way this was taught to me, and it pretty much stems from the Andrew Lomas books. It's within the figure and action book, so you can see this in there. If in one of the books in the series. So this is pretty much what I remember, and I know this sounds really weird, but seriously, go back, look at, like go back to like any of the DC animated series, DC or Marvel comics, and you see that normally normal people are depicted a little smaller, whilst heroic and superhero figures are depicted as taller. Um, Superman happens to be one of those. Batman's happen to be one of those. But those you're looking at more of the older, like those are more iconic or more legacy superhero characters versus some of the newer ones. The newer ones, they're pushing a lot more for like diversity and different groups. So you'll see like shorter heroes, taller heroes. You see anthropomorphic heroes, so on and so forth. So you're starting to see the change. But this is like classic right here. Now, the other thing you got to keep in mind that when you're dealing with bodies, there are technically three types of body, but then this one is in between. You have ectomorph, I call it ecto, mesomorph, and then endomorph. Okay, and then you have ecto, meso, and meso endo. But we're going to focus on these three. So have you ever done any bodybuilding, weightlifting, fitness stuff? You probably have heard about these. And this also carries into your illustration. So ectomorphs tend to be people that tend to be very lean by nature. Think of like runners, cyclists. They tend to have a very lean body. Think of like Goofy from Disney. Okay, he tends to have a really lean body, so he is considered an ectomorph. And then you have mesomorph. Mesomorph is what we see a lot of the superhero bodies. It's like the middle, and yes, you see a lot of, especially men in like their early 20s. I've been around military towns for a long time. So you see a lot of like men in the early 20s when they go into like basic training. You see a lot of them tend to have like this more of a meso body shape before they start aging into their 30s. And then the pudge kicks in, which is hilarious. Okay. So this is more meso. This is what you see a lot of in magazines and you see a lot of designs. Like this is what is considered socially ideal. And then you have endomorph, and endomorph tend to be either you're a lot of muscle or you're a lot of fat. So yeah, think of like stockier characters. So, and it doesn't mean that they're fat, they just tend to have a more broader body. So yeah, so think of like almost any anime series or comic book. You always have like the skinny guy, you have the medium guy, then you have the big guy. So this guy right here tends to be more meso because he has a much bigger body right here. As you can see, he's thicker, there's got more weight, but it's still the same. You still have the chest, the chest, you got the mid area, then you got the hip. Men tend to have on us biological men. This is just basic science. It's not me getting into the gender stuff. It's just basic anatomy class. You will see that men on average tend to have narrower hips, and then biological females. So females tend to have wider hips, mostly because of biology and the way that that it's just made for babies. That's literally the bottom line. It's not. This is not me talking about the other. I don't want to say psychological, but the other part of it, which is more modern. But if you're just going by just biology, men tend to have narrower hips, women tend to have wider hips for childbearing. That's it. Um, there we go. Okay, and the same thing goes for women. So let's say these for the men. Okay, so the women, you'll see more leaner figures. Think of like Steven Universe. So Pearl will be considered more of an ectomorph. If you look at her body type, so she's more of an ectomorph. Okay. Then you have, believe it or not, garnet and amethyst tend to be, they are endomorphs. So, on average, the women tend to be more full body, full figured women. And I'll say this to the day I die, bodies are beautiful. I don't care, big, small, short, tall. Bodies are beautiful. Love your body. Do the best you can to love your body. I know it's hard, especially in the age of social media, but do the best to love your body. All right. So there we go. So you have an endomorph and then you have a mesomorph, which is what we see, which is the average female. And some people have formulas for these, but again, not every body is the same. And we live in the United States where there's a very diverse population, especially you live in like the bigger cities where you have mixtures of different ethnicities. So because of that, you're gonna get different types of bodies. All right. So you got ecto, meaning lean, meso, meaning this is what is considered ideal or the middle of the road, and then you have endo. Endomorph tend to usually carry either more muscle or they tend to have more fat. That's it. Okay. Now, within these groups, there's also different variations. Um, so for women, all right, if you ever get a chance, and I'm not sure if some of you guys have seen this, a lot of like women magazines like Vogue or anything involving makeup. Like I used to see them a lot on like Vogue Teen or like teen magazines. They will always have this section that was called "Dress Your Body for Your Body Shape," and it was very prevalent in like women's magazines. So a lot of these came down to around 7 or 8 shapes, and it was like diamond, hourglass, apple, rectangle, pearl, inverted, and triangle. And don't worry, we're gonna go through these real quick. So you have diamond, And diamond is exactly what it sounds like. Okay, so you have more of a figured, so more of a full bodied. And this is pretty much known as diamond. Normally a little smaller on the top, but then not quite fully hit, but it just kind of gradually goes out to the hips and then it comes back down and comes back in. Okay, so this is diamond. Okay, then you have this is what's really popular, and you see this on like a lot of like anime and video games, where it's known as hourglass. A lot of women achieve this by using corsets, even though it's actually really bad for your for your breathing system and your organs, but whatever. To each their own. Okay, it's pretty much this is an hourglass. And yes, you even see women where they remove ribs off their body so they can achieve this quote unquote naturally. So white at the top, really tiny in the center, and then hips are out, and this is one of those popular shapes. Okay, there we go. All right, so we have that, and then the next one. So this is the let's see, our glass. Sorry, I can't see very well. I'm actually waiting to get new glasses because I sit in a computer all day, and boy, has it been wrecking my eyes a lot. Okay, the next one is known as apple. A lot of women, especially when we start transitioning in our premenopausal or menopausal stage, our body naturally the metabolism slows down. You start seeing a lot more women with more of an apple body. It's not anything that is, it's just again biology. Just the metabolism slows down, and then your hormones are doing their thing. So you see a lot of women especially like 30s and 40s, especially also if they have like children after they have children, their hormones get thrown out of whack, and you see a lot of women walking around with their pretty much right here what is known as an apple body. Okay, so you can see right here. I know it doesn't look like an apple, it looks like an oval, but it's technically what they call apple, even though it's an oval. Then you have a rectangle. And again, this goes back to I keep going back to Pearl from Steven Universe because she's got the rectangle body where she's very it's just literally a rectangle. Her body is a rectangle, and then you add a little bit of curvature just to add the femininity, but it's just a really lean female body. I don't know, excuse my spelling. All right, from here, then you start going into a pear. Uh, let me see. Yeah, so I see a lot of animes. They do this. They have these where it's like small at the top, and then they got think of Cartoon Network, and then they got ba bam hips. Think of like The Incredibles, Mrs. Incredible, Dexter's Laboratories, mom, where it's like just you know tiny, kind of tiny at the top, but then she's got hips for days. And this is what is known as pear. All right. Then you have what is known as an inverted triangle. And the inverted triangle, I've seen it a lot when they try to draw fitness women or like fit women, especially they do a lot of weightlifting. So you see the triangle. So they tend to have more broader shoulders from their lifting. And I know because I used to do a lot of bodybuilding. So I kind of slightly ended up with this body type myself at one point. So it's mostly broad shoulders, the hips narrow down, and then you have the rest of the body right here. I just finished watching Navox Machina, but the following one, there was a female monk and she sported this type of body in the show where it's kind of she looked kind of like Korra from Legend of Korra from the Avatar series. But I see this a lot on female or more built or muscle type female characters. So inverted triangle. Okay. And then you have like it's this but a little bit a little bit crazier. So it's also known and these two are fairly similar. It's literally just called triangle. And if you've been to Atlanta, which I have, I didn't believe this body type was real and then I went to Atlanta and I'm like, yep, I have been proven wrong. I had a student that was from there and used to draw these very tiny top women and then we just bam ba-bam for the bottom, like ba-bam, like cheeks for days. And I'm like, there's no way that's real. And then I went like, oh wow, that is real. I came back and I apologized. Someone's like, yeah, bro. Yep, nope, you are correct. Yes, they are real. They're not a weird online thing. These women are real. So you have triangle. Okay. There we go. So this pretty much kind of covers some of the basic shapes. And again, you could go to any, just type in women body type, and just type in how to dress, and this graphic will pop up. I just didn't want to bring one on here because again, I'm trying not to get copyright strikes. So, but you look this up, and it's diamond, hourglass, apple, rectangle, pear. Upside inverted triangle and triangle, and you see some of these different shapes. Now, this also applies to men. Okay, so men have it, but not as wide as women. Once in a while, you do see kind of like a crossover, which I seen guys with like a really heavy triangle. Believe it or not, I have seen in men in a pear shape, but it's not something you see very regular. Okay, so for the men, you're going to see is a trapezoid, inverted triangle, rectangle, triangle, and then oval. So, and again, a lot of these I've seen depending on the age of the individual. So I sometimes seen some body shapes more kind of like right here, like the apple shape. I seen it more of women in a particular age group. Same thing goes with like oval for men. I seen it on men for a particular age group. So let's go ahead and start taking a look at this. Okay, so the first one for men, I put med. Men, I can spell, I swear. You have trapezoid, okay? And right here, you go right here, and it's literally what you think is a trapezoid. So it's just wide enough. It's pretty much what the regular meso body is. This is like the standard, a little wider at the top. You have like the arms, right? You have the hips. Normally, men's hips are portrayed as square versus like women's hips are portrayed as kind of a I can't remember the name of the shape right now. So six-sided. Having having derp a moment. But instead of being just a square, it's pretty much portrayed as this. It's something I learned in art school for women. So it gives you that really nice curvature of the hip. But for men, on average, you pretty much portrayed as a square. Okay. So now right here, someone told me that I say okay a lot. Please let me know. Maybe we could make a drinking game out of it. I don't freaking know. Okay. So right here, there's your trapezoid. Okay, or it's like called void or meso, classic meso. And then you have inverted triangle. And I've seen a lot of, especially if people are designing like really villainous characters that tend to be Like just have there's a thing about uh triangles and villainous figures. You don't believe me? Look at every Disney villain. Almost every Disney villain, you can look at their head and it can be broken down into triangles. It's kind of crazy, but it's true. Like look at any of them and then see how many triangles you can find hidden in their faces. So you'll see, especially like evil scientists, you see that their shoulders are really broad and then they get really lean towards the bottom. Again, this is just me drawing this really quick. I'm getting back in the groove of teaching. I've been doing a lot of like computer based stuff for a few weeks now. So I feel a little rusty in my drawing, but I can still get it done. This is inverted triangle. Don't mind me if you hear me yawning on these videos. My husband gets up at like 4:30 in the morning. So technically my day starts at 4:30 in the morning because we wake up at the same time. Okay, so it's already like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, and then right here you have a rectangle. Rectangle is pretty common. You can look at like this is what I call rectangle is what I call generic dude, like super generic dude. And they're not quite thin, they're not quite fat. They're just a dude. They're just yeah, like there's nothing crazy about them. At the hip. And you can go to a gas station, look around, and you'll find a guy that has like a rectangle shape upper body. Like they don't work out, they're just there. It's like, yeah, I'll have a torso. Good for me. Okay, this is rectangle. Okay. All right, and the next one is going to be triangle. Triangle. So I call triangle post 20 years. So you see some men where like they'll have the upper body, and at one point they ate a little too much, so you start seeing that pudge kind of go in, so they get a little bit more wider towards the bottom, so they expand out. So you see, especially if you look at them from the side view. So you have what would be the normal body. There's the curvature of the spine. If this is him, they're healthy. Their pudge grows out, and they start getting more of that diamond look to their body. But that's this is how I see people, by the way. As I'm roaming around through the planet, my mind is constantly breaking people down into shapes. By the way, it's just yeah, it's crazy. I'm a crazy person, you could say it, but it's fun to be crazy fun. Your life is never boring. What you doing, you bud? See you in the background. I'll play with your toy here in a moment. My kitty wants attention. She always wants attention at the one time I can't provide attention sometimes. So right here you start getting the triangle, and then you start getting the oval. And we all can find friend or family that fits in the oval. Normally it tends to be I also like to call it the egg because it tends to be a little wider, a little narrower on the top, and then they start getting rounder towards the bottom. And technically, the triangle and the oval are pretty close. It's kind of like the pear and the triangle; they're pretty similar. And I call these guys so and ladies because there's some ladies that do have this body shape. I call it meatball on a stick. You have the round shape, and then just the two little legs sticking out of it. And I know because I'm kind of right now in the apple slash meatball slash oval phase of my life. I am 44, gonna be 45 this year. So, oh, biology's catching up to me. Wop, 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 wop. Okay. So, but with that, guys, hopefully this kind of gives you a better idea of how to start looking at different bodies. And what I really would like for you guys to do between this lesson and the next lesson is to kind of go out and look at like your favorite animes, look at your favorite TV shows, look at just people around you and see if you can spot any of these shapes. If obviously don't go out there and be a creeper and just start staring at people because that's how you get in trouble. um, so, but it this is kind of important because it starts forcing your mind to start really looking at people, start really looking at the shapes. And a lot of people when they're first learning, they're like everybody looks the same. That it's always this is what most people see. It's kind of like a house. So a lot of people say, well, a house is a square with a triangle and it's got a door and then a couple windows and here's a chimney, garage, and then here's a roof. Congratulations, I just assigned $100,000 house. Just kidding. Okay, and it's the same for people. A lot of people think it's just a head, and then you have just a square body. You do just the legs, and then there's the arms, and then that's it. They think this fits into everybody. And granted, this works if you're doing like architectural illustrations, but as you can see, not everybody fits this mold. So it's the same thing that's the house that the way people approach it is the same thing as it is for people. People come in all flavors. People come in all shapes, and as they age, their body changes. So, like I said, this time, after you watch this video, go around, go to TV and pause it and really look at what you're looking at. What is their shape? Maybe just kind of try to sketch him out real quick. Figure that part out, and then look at like the difference between the normal people and the superheroes in the movies. And you always see that anytime you're dealing with like superheroes, they always make the superheroes heroic, tall, and while generic, John Doe in the corner, she's like, this tiny little shrimpy thing. And then again, if you go to the gym, like I used to do all the time, look at the different stages of the bodies there. You have some folks that are like ectomorph, mesomorph, and endomorph, and then you have people that are in between, which is endomeso and mesoendo. And you will find it everywhere. It's really, really fascinating. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. Like I said, I'm going to continue building these as I go through. I believe I'm down to just anatomy for the first wave of lessons. And then, yeah, we'll just kind of continue going through these as I go through. I'm just having a good time making these lessons. But anyway, if you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. I always appreciate you guys joining me and my little silly lessons. And I appreciate you. And y'all have a beautiful day. Stay safe, stay awesome, love yourself, and just be amazing. Cheers.